This is Speak of the Devils on AZ Family Sports.
Welcome to Speak of the Devils, the premier TV show for Sun Devil football. I'm Brad Denny with 3TV.
And I'm Joe Healey with DevilsDigest.com.
Joe, we made it. Football is back. And on this episode, we're going to tell you folks exactly how this 2025 season is going to play out as we take an in-depth season preview. We might make some predictions along the way.
Brad, we are just over a week away from the kickoff to the 2025 season for Sun Devil football. We're all waiting with eager anticipation to see how they can follow up that magical run from last year. Through this show, we'll tell you if we think that they can do it.
All right, so we're going to run down the offense, the defense, and then close out with some predictions, put ourselves on the record. But let's start off with the offensive side of the ball. Now, our quarterback, they're going to be pretty good. Sam Levitt's one of the best signal callers in the nation. Really, the question is how good does Sam need to be for ASU to repeat?
Yeah, I think he just needs to play within himself, not get too risky, not make too many mistakes. He's a very efficient passer last year. He's a known commodity. There's a lot of film on him, so teams are going to be coming after him. Everybody in the college football world knows about Sam Levitt, but I think he's going to be up to the task, especially with the guidance of Kenny Dillingham and Marcus Arroyo.
He's got a lot of weapons, and he's getting some Heisman buzz. If he obviously plays to that level, ASU is going to be in good shape. I don't think he needs to get to that level. As you mentioned, Joe, just play within himself. The numbers will come because in large part, he's got a very talented backfield. But now the running backs, that's where a big question is. Cam Skadaboo's gone, and his production's in the NFL now. Now, a lot of the national folks, ASU is going to be having some big shoes to fill, and they will. But I think they're better equipped to be able to replace that production than a lot of people might think.
Yeah, they've got some really good depth, the kind of depth that you haven't seen in several years. You got Kyson Brown ready to take that baton from Cam Skadaboo at running back one. Kanye Udo coming over from Army. Don't forget about Raleek Brown, and that's not it as it pertains to the running back group. So they should have some depth, even if you don't have that headliner, a guy like Scat.
I am a big believer in Kyson Brown. He's looked tremendous in fall camp. He has all the makings of a guy that can carry the load and be that bell cow back. Now, I think one of the interesting things this year is that ASU probably for the first time in about 8-9 years won't need to have that. We should see a by-committee approach. You mentioned the very talented players that are there. I think Kyson Brown will be at the head of that list, but yeah, Kanye Udo, Raleek Brown, that is a three-headed monster, three guys who all present a little bit of something different. And so far in fall camp, they've been using them in some pretty creative ways. So it should be interesting to see exactly how that all plays out. Another interesting area, Joe, wide receiver. Jordan Tyson, one of the best in the country, earlier this week named a preseason All-American. Now, as Kenny Dillingham said, it's postseason All-American that really counts. But we know that Jordan Tyson and Sam Levitt, that connection is strong. But right now, the big question heading into this 2025 season, what are the Devils going to get from the wide receivers not named Jordan Tyson?
I think Sun Devil fans should be excited. I think that the depth of this group is an upgrade over last season. You think about the departed players like Melquan Stovall, Xavier Guillory, and even guys like Troy O'Meary, Jake Smith. Then you look at what ASU has this year. You bring in Jarrett Hamilton from the transfer portal. Jalen Moss comes over from Fresno State with well over 100 career receptions. You got Malik McClain. Of course, he was on the roster last year, as you remember, made some huge plays in the postseason, but he redshirted during the regular season, so we didn't really see a lot of him. So it's not that he's new, but he's just not somebody that saw a ton of the field last year. So man for man, that depth, I think, is a significant upgrade over last year. You take a guy like Jordan Tyson, who, man, he was really, really special last year, and the expectations are even higher. I think this is a group that's going to couple with an experienced Sam Levitt with a year starting under his belt to be a pass game that I think could surprise people.
I think it's going to take a big step forward. Obviously you're losing Cam Skadaboo, and that was the heart and soul, but I think this is going to be an offense that's going to have greater balance. You're going to see a more confident quarterback with a lot of weapons and some at the tight end position that we'll get to in a moment. But yeah, that wide receiver group, Joe, Jarrett Hamilton has, since about the 4th week of spring practice all the way through fall camp, has looked like a star in the making. The speed to take the top off of defense really helped roll those coverages away from Jordan Tyson and getting all that and all that attention. Jalen Moss out of the slot. We've also seen some times where in fall camp where Jordan Tyson's moving inside and they're playing all four of those top wide receivers together. So I think with an experienced quarterback, that's going to be really good. And especially when you mix in the tight end group, I know you're extremely high on their potential.
Man, this tight end group, I've been following Sun Devil football for ballpark about 30 years. This might be the best tight end group in terms of potential that I've ever seen ASU have. They have high-level talent, an all-conference competitor in Shimon Mateer. You got Kamari Anderson, Brad. I know you're over the moon about him and what he brings coming over from Kentucky. AJ Ia is a big-time true freshman. You got Cameron Harpole, who's a really underrated piece of the puzzle there, and some other depth pieces as well. I mean, you can go 3-4 deep with some talented players. Wasn't that long ago we were wondering if a tight end would catch even, 5-10 passes on the year. ASU should have some production from that position group they haven't had in a long time.
Yeah, they can go 4 deep. We've seen in camp that they're running 12, 13, sometimes even 14 personnel. And you mentioned, yes, I am on the Kamari Anderson hype train. Shimon Mateer is going to be an NFL tight end, but I think Anderson brings an explosive element to this position group that I think is really elevate that the tight end spot. And Coach Jason Mons, overseeing that group, has done some great stuff there. Now, as we close out on the offensive line, it all obviously starts in the trenches. Now, the last 10 days or so, the question of who's going to be the center has come to the forefront. Ben Coleman, last year's left guard, moved to center in spring. Now, recently, there's been some continued snapping issues. So Iowa State transfer Wade Helton has got the nod there with Ben Coleman moving to center. That could have some ripple effects.
Yeah, ASU only loses one full-time starter from last year's offensive line. That's Lee Fatanu. We knew it was going to be a big loss, but we're really starting to learn how significant that loss is. Going to be very eager to see how things shake out, especially week 1 against NAU. If they stick with one center, do they give both Helton and Coleman some time there to see how things can mesh? That's a position battle on offense. I think a lot of the educated Sun Devil fans are really keeping a very close eye on it, and it's going to have a big impact on the season.
And Helton, of course, is a redshirt freshman, very talented, but still young in a position that is going to be called upon a lot. He's got a lot of experience around him, so how that shakes out is going to be definitely one of the things to track over the latter stages as we get close to the opener. After the break, we are going to flip the switch and look at the Sun Devil defense, a veteran-heavy unit. We're going to take a position-by-position look and preview what this Sun Devil defense can do to follow up their impressive 2024 campaign. Welcome back to Speak of the Devils. Let's look at the Sun Devil defense. Now, this is a group that has a lot of familiar faces, Joe. So many pieces have come back from a defense that was pretty good a year ago. Now, as we'll touch upon, there were some areas where they can improve upon, and perhaps they've made the moves and internal developments and outside acquisitions to make some strides there. But ultimately, it kind of all starts up front. The defensive line, they basically bring back the entire 3 deep. But also, Kenny Dillingham has been raving constantly over the last couple of weeks about how the defensive line, in particular the defensive ends and the edges, have really transformed themselves with Coach Joe Connolly and the strength conditioning program. Clayton Smith, for example, one of the starting defensive ends, he's added 25 pounds of muscle while still retaining the quickness and explosiveness. Justin Watley at another defensive end spot, he's down to 260 after a guy who's kind of playing a little bit inside and outside. He has been looking like an absolute destroyer of worlds so far in fall camp. So, Joe, do you think that returning experience combined with those offseason gains is going to get to a better pass rush? Because that was one of the areas where ASU, despite their talents and success, wasn't able to really get going last year.
Yeah, the Sun Devils did not have too many weaknesses, especially on offense and defense last year, but you really can point at the lack of pass rush as a concern issue in 2024. And that's something that, for me, you're excited about the feedback that you're receiving, need to see it in the field of play. They've got a lot of guys that can get to the quarterback. They have depth. They can really stop the run very well.
Yeah.
But that is the area, I think, maybe on the team as a whole, especially on offense or defense, I really want to see this team improve the pass rush. You got guys like Clayton Smith, talked about Watley, Elijah O'Neal, Prince Dorba, and an interior lineman as well. They have the pieces. They just need to get it done.
Yeah, I think, getting it done is going to be real key. Defensive line coach Dyron Reynolds has really stressed all offseason long about getting the pass rush going. And that's just simply not just about getting a higher sack total, which improving the 24 sacks they registered would be nice as well, but also just, making the quarterback's life miserable. This is going to be a Big 12 conference that, kind of last year was running back dominated narratively. Now there's a lot of returning quarterbacks. So this is going to be a pass happy league. And so there's going to be some opportunities there, certainly for ASU's line to get going and pin their ears back. And, you mentioned that they're going to be good in the run. The tackles led by CJ Fight should be very good. Man, I think those edges are primed. I don't know if there's going to be a 10-sack guy on this team, but there could be a lot of guys that are, in that 5 to 8 range.
Yeah, don't give me one 10-sack guy and then drop it down to the next leader has like 2 or 3. Yeah, if you can give me 3 or 4 guys that have between like 6 and 8, I'll be happy with that.
All right, Joe, let's talk about the linebackers now. I'm really high on this group. I know that, where there's some guys that we really like. Jordan Crook, Keyshawn Elliott are your starters there. Cyrus Fiaseu's been excellent as the kind of the guy off the bench. And one of the key factors for all three of those guys, they're in their second year of this defensive scheme. And throughout spring and into fall camp, all three of them have been playing so much quicker, more instinctively, far more comfortable. And I think that's made or has the ability to have this ASU defense go to another level.
Yeah, as good as they were last year, I don't think that we've seen the best that this group has to offer. Now that they're more acclimated in this system, that's something to really keep an eye on. A guy like Keyshawn Elliott, very good year last year, but he was incredible the season before at New Mexico State, well over 100 tackles. Cyrus Fiaseu, before he transferred to ASU, when he was at San Diego State, he was kind of like Shamari Simmons. He did everything, filled the box scores, was the team MVP as a linebacker. So these are guys, again, that contributed at a high level in 2024 for Arizona State. But they might have more to offer in 2025 here in a position group that's just going to be able to rotate a lot of quality players.
Yeah, Jordan Crook, future superstar. That's one of my predictions for this upcoming season. All right, let's move to cornerback right now. Keith Abney, Xavion Robinson, they were the starters last year. As the season progressed, they got much better, and I think right now they enter as one of the better tandems in the conference. I think the question here is the depth behind them going to be ready to go?
I think it's going to be an upgrade, kind of similar to wide receiver. Rodney Bimage is a guy, a name to remember, been lighting it up in practices all offseason. Nyland Green, a former big-time recruit who began his career at Georgia, he's in there in the two deep as well. If you compare that to last year, especially including the starting duo of Abney and Robinson, those guys came a long way over the course of the season. So now you start the year with the experience that those two have, and you have those backups. That is a strong group. And again, things being a function of one another, talk about the pass rush improving. If that improves, that makes life one heck of a lot easier for those cornerbacks.
All right, so moving on to the safeties. Now you have Xavion Alford, all Big 12 first-team selection, Ghost Rouser, hardest hitter on the team, maybe the conference. I think right now you have the big question, who's going to be the starting nickel? Shamari Simmons, so good, so important for this team a year ago. You've had Montana Warren, the youngster, kind of moving around a little bit throughout fall camp. Lately, he's dialed it in at the nickel spot. Kendrick Breedlove coming over from Purdue. They've been in a heated battle. I think that right there is how those nickelbacks are going to contribute relative to the Shamari Simmons standard.
I think there are three positions on the roster where you're really wondering, okay, how are these shoes going to be filled? Two of them are on offense. Cam Scadaboo at running back, Lee Fatano at center. Then you've got Shamari Simmons at nickel defensive back. He just did everything for Arizona State these last 2 years. So those are very, very difficult shoes to fill. The competition there is pretty thick. You've got some guys that can hit, some guys with some experience. So that is on defense, I'm certain, going to be the one area that a lot of Sun Devil fans are going to target as far as what they're going to watch in the early goings of the season because of the high standard that was in place due to the play of Shamari Simmons.
All right, now closing things out with special teams. Of course, Jesus Gomez is kind of the savior at the kicker spot after the ups and downs, and mostly downs at that spot last season. He's been really good. Great range there. Overall, it just seems like a much better and more cohesive unit from the returners to the specialists heading into 2025.
Yeah, that's a major, major upgrade of Jesus Gomez. You figure the punting should improve. You're going to get Raleek Brown in all likelihood as a return specialist, a very dynamic athlete. So special teams, yes, there were some problem areas throughout the course of the season last year and prior to that as well. It seems like it's been a while since ASU has had a really standout kicker, maybe back to the Zane Gonzalez days. But I think that overall, those groups should improve this year. And I know Sun Devil fans will be quite relieved if that is the case.
Yeah, having confidence in a place kicker. Wow, it's another sign of these are not your bad Sun Devils when it comes to this 2025 season. A lot to be excited about. After the break, we're going to be talking to one of those key defensive leaders. We'll be talking with safety Xavion Alford. Welcome back to Speak of the Devils. Since arriving in Tempe, safety Xavion Alford has been one of the most critical Sun Devils, both on and off the field. Up next, you'll hear him discuss the makeup of the safety position, his growth as a leader, and how this Sun Devil defense can take the next step in 2025.
With game coming so soon?
It's feeling good. I mean, it's glad to see, offense having some success because, after today, we're kind of together. We're a team. So it's going to be good. We're able to cheer now when they score touchdowns, things of that nature. But, it's been back and forth all camp. That's signs of a good team. You don't want one side of the ball beating up on each other too much because that can cause some concerns. But definitely proud of this team. definitely worked throughout this camp. One of the most physical camps I've been through from my last one, just as far as the details, just the work, I feel like we put in a lot of work and we really got better over these past 25 days or whatever.
You mentioned all that work that you put in. Coaches have just lamented how much of a leader you've been throughout this process. You're going in your second year here, but your first year here, you
the best safety in America.
But a lot of guys landlord, baby. A lot of guys still looked up to you in the locker room, giving speeches. Kind of where does that drive to be a leader come from?
I mean, I've been, all my teams since I was 4 years old, always kind of been that guy just looking around and nobody really saying anything, but, I've always been the one to step up and kind of lead. And then, with my story too, just sitting off the field for that long, kind of having to be a self-starter, being off the field that long, you can have a lot of self-doubt in yourself. So, you have to kind of have that positive self-talk. So I try to speak that positive self-talk to my teammates before, we go into battle, go into games, remind them that we put in the work against each other each and every day. We go to battle against each other each and every day. So, against the guys we don't know, we really don't care what happens. We just going to play fast, physical, till the whistle is done.
And you talk about that positive self-talk. You guys are getting a lot of positive talk from outside this building.
Yeah.
And there's kind of been this idea that you guys teams in your position might rest on their laurels, but everybody says this team is different. What makes this team different?
We just about to work. Like we haven't forgot where we came from. We haven't forgot that we were the team misfits or underdogs that came together last year that was predicted 16th. And the whole world was saying nobody on our team is good, and we don't really have any good players, and we're gonna be the last team. We probably win 2 or 3 games. We haven't forgot about that. And we put in the work to get in the position we are. So, we steady working to put ourselves in the position that we want to be in. So the work is ultimately what you can trust. The work is what we go back to. And, we've been, ever since last year, even whatever last year was, we came back, to our process, things that worked, and, what's not broke, don't fix it.
And a lot of guys have had really winding roads to get here. You mentioned this team of misfits. For you, your road's been as long as anybody's.
Yeah.
And so how does everybody kind of having that journey to get here bring the group closer together?
It's just because, you can relate to adversities, throughout fall camp we have things, where kind of seniors or just guys, period, coaches go up and talk, and you kind of get to know people on a personal level, their adversities, what's their why, what's their purpose, things of that nature. So, just after coming out here practicing hard like that and then sitting out and then listening to those guys, figuring out off the field, personally, what's their why, things of that nature, it just brings us closer. So, when you're on the field lined up to that guy, like, oh, he's going hard because it is, and I'm going hard because it is. We all put it together, to make one big wave, of effort, physicality and things of that nature.
How do you feel the chemistry with you and Ghost has come along now in year 2, even though both of you kind of missed a little bit of time in fall?
Yeah. We both, shout out to Coach Ward, for the way he teaches us the scheme and things like that. Our chemistry is crazy now, a year ago from where it is now. It's crazy. We actually switched positions on the field yesterday, like mid-play. Like he went to free and I went to strong, just because we kind of know each other, kind of know what to do. And, in the games, it's kind of funny because when you see each other on the other side of the field, it's kind of far away. It kind of looks like it's close, but it's really far. So just eye contact, small things, mannerisms, us knowing each other, hanging out all the time, helps us on the field when it's loud, like it'll be on August 30th when we got to communicate things of that nature. That chemistry definitely comes into play with the whole defense and the whole secondary as well.
And that nickel spot, kind of the one uncertain at this point. How have you seen like a young guy like Montana kind of battle a veteran like Kendrick?
It's been a great battle. Obviously, we come out here and compete every day. Everybody in the room loves each other. We all pride ourselves on being able to play different positions. Those guys are really close, obviously, because they got to pick each other's brain, learn from each other's mistakes, things of that nature. But it's been a really good battle, I feel like, between, like I said, Montana and Bree. They're both definitely going to help us, both great players, probably be on the field at the same time, with different stuff that we're doing. Now we get into season, game plan, things like that. But it's definitely been a healthy battle. It's been competitive. The whole DB room, we just pride ourselves on coming out competing each and every day.
Welcome back to Speak of the Devils. As we wrap things up, we're going to make some predictions here. And by the way, check out our full podcast version of the show this week. We go through this list in depth and have a lot more categories as well. Let's start it off, Brad. Who's going to lead this team in rushing? You got to replace Cam Scadaboo. A lot of depth at running back.
Yeah, 3 good candidates there, but I've been on the Kyson Brown train since day one. Kyson Brown's going to be a lead back.
I say same here. Similar question. Who's going to be the breakout star? Someone who played for the team last year who's going to take a big leap up. I'm giving the same name. Kyson Brown's my guy there.
It's hard to disagree. I think that what he can do as a runner and a receiver makes him very dangerous. I think he's going to push 1,000 yards from scrimmage. KB is my guy.
Name a guy on offense and defense who transferred to Arizona State this offseason who's going to make the most impact. Who are your top first-year transfers?
For me on offense, it's wide receiver Jaron Hamilton. I think his explosiveness really stands out there. On the defensive side, I think you're going to see a guy like Kendrick Breedlove really kind of make his presence felt. But I also think Boogie Wilson, watch out for him as a ball hawk in the back end.
I've got a receiver and a defensive back, but some different names. Jalen Moss came over from Fresno State. Kendrick Breedlove, you kind of mentioned him there. He's generally in line for a starting position or in that competition. A few names you could go with, but those are the ones that I chose. Top true freshman. This is a very senior heavy, very experienced team. Not a lot of true freshmen are probably going to be in line for action. One that's been getting some headlines through spring and fall camp, tight end AJ Ea. We'll see what kind of role he has, but among the true freshmen, I feel like he'll make the greatest impact.
Just to be different, I'll say wide receiver Harry Hassman. He's a guy that came in, has been running with the two since spring ball, a very sure-handed guy, knows how to get open. I don't know how much playing time he'll get, but I think when he's had his number called, he's been stepping up.
All right, we're going to talk about some of the most important games and items of the schedule that ASU has to face over the course of the 2025 season. What is the most important game outside of the Territorial Cup matchup with Arizona?
For me, it's Texas Tech. There's a lot of narrative stuff going around in the Big 12. Obviously, they've done a lot in reshaping their roster. They're going to be coming to Tempe. I think both teams are going to be in good shape. It should be ranked versus ranked. That's my pick.
For me, it's ASU's game late in the season at Iowa State. Of course, that's a rematch of last year's Big 12 championship game. As it stands right now in the preseason, Iowa State is the highest-ranked team ASU will face this year, though that could change. That's going to be a big one. Moving on to our next category, biggest win. Coincidentally, my answer is the same. I think they're going to take that game at Iowa State.
Same with me. I think that ASU, when they host Texas Tech, they can get some revenge against the Red Raiders.
In college football, you always have to be leery of the trap game, and those can rear their head in many different ways. And I think ASU has just the textbook definition of a trap game on its schedule. I'm pretty sure Brad and I agree on this one, and that would be ASU's matchup with Houston, because that comes right after games that are against Utah and Texas Tech. Those should be very difficult games. And it's right before that trip I mentioned earlier to Iowa State. Houston's a well-coached team. They did some things in the transfer portal. Again, I don't know that they'll lose that game, but as far as the trap game, that has that written all over it.
Absolutely. Willie Fritz has done a great job kind of reinvigorating the Cougar program. So it's going to be tough, but I think ASU gets it done.
All right, Brad, let's really get to the heart of it. What's ASU's regular season record going to be in 2025?
I think it's going to be 10-2. Just like last year, ASU is a good team. I think that they should be favorites, at least on the outset, barring injury, on pretty much every game. There's going to be some tough games, absolutely, but there's some key misses they miss on this schedule. So give me 10-2.
I'm going to go with 9-3. Like, I can see 10-2. I can see 11-1 or 12-0. Man, it is tough as a supporter of Sun Devil Athletics because ASU doesn't always keep good things at a high level. 9-3 would still be great. 20 wins over 2 seasons, outstanding. For me, I think that places them third in the Big 12. Where do you think they finish standings-wise?
I think they're in the top 2. I think they make a return trip to Arlington to play for the conference title, and I think they get it done yet again. It's a rare feat, but back-to-back.
I have ASU going to the Alamo Bowl and finishing the season with a number 16 AP poll ranking. That's our last category. Where will ASU be ranked, if they're ranked, assuming they will, with your outcome?
Yeah, I think after coming off another Big 12 championship, a trip to the playoff, well, no, kind of hard to predict where that all shakes up, but I think they're going to have another very good season. And hey, if they're going back-to-back as Big 12 champs, why not back-to-back as the number 7 team in the final AP poll? So I think from where they start, that'll be up 4 spots. But hey, it all starts next week, Joe. So we'll be back next week on Arizona's Family Sports. Don't make sure to catch our full podcast preview episode. But next week, let's talk ASU versus NAU.